once again newly elected in Jordan?
That's the first thing we want to clear with you. You are valuable partners of football, not for our sake, for the people's sake. The second thing I want to clarify with you is that I know all of you wanted to speak to me leading up to this election. But as you know, this was an extraordinary election. It was an election where we had 4 court cases. And each of those submissions or court documents was over 100 pages. And you must read it, interpret it, understand it, and respond to develop an answering affidavit. So I have to decide whether I'm going to run, because if I speak to one and not the other, you'll not be happy. So I have to decide. The priority is that we have to deal with these issues and challenges to protect and make sure that this conference happens. One day when we have more time, I can tell you, but just a one-liner, it was very difficult. And so I could not. One thing that you must do, never lose your focus. Focus. And the focus was, let's protect the Congress, and the Congress must happen on the 25th of June, 2022. That elective Congress, that was a priority. And so, if I did not go, it's because I had set my priorities. So I hope you understand. I know some of you are looking at me, send me messages, phone calls, and I did not. And it's not something that I do. If the media calls, I respond. If the media calls, I'm there. But it was the first time that we have an election of this nature, and you will also admit we never had such an election in our history. But that is now behind us. So we are here, and we want to walk this journey with you as partners of football. We have our provincial reps here. They're all sitting here. And I have the CEO who's here. And I think the CEO can just start briefly to give you a report on what happened leading up to the election, what happened in the election, and then I will talk to you very briefly what we see over the next 4 years. And so, CEO, if you can start. I think you must come this way.
Thank you. And as the President had said, when we deal with media, we've always said we have open door policy. I want to, again, as the President said, we apologize for what happened yesterday. It will never happen again. We have spoken to members concerned, and we apologize on their behalf. We started a day very well. Of course, there were people who started a protest, who wanted to force their entry, but we would like to thank security which dealt with those incidents. And we then had a successful Congress. A success in that we had FIFA and CAF and governance committee which ran, FIFA and CAF were here as observers. The governance committee ran the process, and we did not receive a single objection from any of the members. Starting with the credentials, they were adopted. You know, in some corners, credentials are the ones which breaks the meeting, but here the credentials were adopted. The elections took place. All the members who were accredited participated. And we started on the position of the President, and the President, Dr. Jordan, retained with 186 votes, and Ms. Lidova got 27 votes, and Mr. Mkhabeng 8 votes. We will give you the name of the rest of the NEC members, but there were less contestations. I should say that in provinces we had contestation from 4 provinces. The rest, they were elected unopposed. So that's how we are here today. And we'd like to thank you for your patience and waiting for this briefing. But the Congress went well. It was a success, and it was a very successful one with a landslide victory for President Dr. Jordan, who got 186 votes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CEO.
Is it come this side?
I can't come to one camera, the other camera is also. I must come this way. Oh, now I see why I must come. There's one very important one here. Okay, so we had our election, as you know. We did not have even a meeting with our executive, and therefore we cannot pronounce policy positions. But what we can tell you is a summary of where we are and where we want to be in brief terms. We have given you two reports, one on women's football report. They have it. Oh, if you don't have it, you'll have it. And the second report is on Vision 2022, because we come to the end of Vision 2022, and the next 4 years is 2022 to 2026, and the next 4 years is 2026 to 2030. But I won't be there, I must tell you now, in 2026 to 2030. This is my last term. So those reports are there. And just to look back on Vision 2022 and where we started. When we started, for example, we only had one woman on the National Executive Committee. Today we have 5 women on the National Executive. On the 52 regions, we did not have a single woman in the structures of the regions. Today we have 52. We have 52, either president of the region or a vice president of the region. We had no woman on the 311 local football associations or LFAs. We now have 3,400 there, women. We did not have women referees, very few. We now have 11,250 women referees, women match commissioners, women assistant referees. You saw on the ABC Motsepe League final, all 3 women, all 3, the 2 assistants and the referee, were women, or are women. They're still a woman. And they handled the match. You know, Akona handled PSL matches. In FIFA appointing 20 South Africans on the FIFA list, 4 of them are women on the FIFA list, now referees. When we came in, all of the women teams were coached by men. And you know, Augustine Makalakalani, Konza, and so on. We said no. All women teams must be coached by women. And today, all of our teams are coached by women. And they are very successful. We have the SASO League, which you know, is a league of 144 teams. And then we did not have a national league. We formed a national league and found a sponsor, Hollywood Bets, for the national league. And that league is thriving. That league, on average, is close to 800 to 1 million viewers every time they play. And we said by 2026, we want a fully professional women's league. And a professional player means that the player earns enough from football to sustain their needs. They don't need to work a second or a third job to sustain them. So that's where we want to be with Hollywood Bets. Now, indicated there are 30 million women football players in the world today, and said that they would want 60 million women footballers by 2026. Now, what is our contribution? We want to have 1 million women players by 2026. So where will they come from? We are going to look at the club licensing for the women teams, Hollywood Bets. That each Hollywood Bet team must have an under 17 girls team, and each Safa team must have an under 15 girls team to strengthen schools football for girls. And there you will see the growth, and our projection is that we'll have 1 million women footballers by 2026. School sport. We have two competitions that you know. The one is the Safa Cup, and the other one is the Pan-African Schools Competition. The Safa Cup has been played with a prize money of 1 million. A school like Helm, for example, won the Safa Cup 3 times, which means the school received 1 million. And what they did, they built an additional classroom and they built a computer lab for the school. So there's huge benefit from the Safa competition, besides the fact that it has grown school sport. We also have the Pan-African Schools Competition, and we played it in our regions. Last week it was in Pixie Klasen, it was in KZN, and yes, Mr. Ngwana Sipi, and Bethlehem in the Free State, Thabo Mafutsenyana. When we were in Kinshasa, the CAF Pan-African Finals competition was in Kinshasa, Congo, DR, and there were 2 schools, one from the Northwest and one from KZN, that played there. And in fact, the girls team from KZN made it to the final, played against Morocco. They lost 1-0. The girls were just 4. So I don't want to go on and on and on, but in Oberberg, they have a women's league there in the area of Caledon, Hermanus, Botrevier, those who know that area. 4 of the girls playing in that league has been signed by a club in Georgia. They are playing there now. We have 25 women playing in leagues in Europe. So this is just what has happened over the period of time. We have looked at strengthening schools competition. So what do we want? We want a national schools league, because you know, if football is to be a social integrator, we cannot have a situation where our schools competition does not include so-called Model C schools or private schools. We want them in a national schools league, and that's one of the key things. Then the question of, I think you want to talk about the Bafana Bafana. You know, we played against Sudan. We needed to draw against Sudan to qualify for AFCON. Then there was a ban. We were put on a red list by the European countries, and you know it. In other words, it means that no one from Europe could travel to South Africa, and no one from South Africa could travel to Europe. And we had many discussions with the clubs. We had 8 players at the time that was in the team that played in Europe. And all of a sudden they were not available. And had a difficulty. Finally, those players didn't come. It was not possible. The country didn't want to allow them to come because of COVID, and therefore we had to find a replacement for 8 players within 2 days and go and play them. Of course, we lost that match and we didn't qualify, but we were on top of the group. In the World Cup qualifiers, you know, when Bruce came, he started with young players. Those players played 11 matches unbeaten. They won the Safa Cup. Everybody was singing their praises. That team was on top of the group of the World Cup qualifiers with the last match to play in Ghana, Cape Coast. And they needed to draw to qualify for the World Cup. You saw what happened. A penalty was given and the team was out. You then said, this is unfair, it's not right, we were robbed. We wrote to FIFA, we protested, you said that is right, we must challenge it. The impact on those players was devastating. I can still remember what Tebogo Mokoena said. He said, you know, I went to under-17 World Cup. I went to under-20 World Cup. I went to the Olympics, all under Vision 2022. First time that you have that transition in South African football. And I wanted to finish by playing in the Senior World Cup. And this referee has destroyed my dream that I had. I was so close because we were top of the group. And I don't want to tell you the emotional turmoil that those players went through. And that was then. Now come the election. No, it's not the referee, it's Jordan. The only thing we must do is change Jordan for somebody else, and then we'll win. No, no way in the world does that happen. It's not going to happen. So what are the other structural issues in football? First, you see, there is something called the International Match Calendar. Now, the International Match Calendar set dates on which your international matches can be played. And invariably, you find 2-3 days between the matches that the national team must play. And it is very difficult. Very difficult. So, if you look at the impact of the international calendar on national teams, not just Bafana, let's look at your pet topic. We won the AFCON in 1996. Yes, but in 1996 there was no international match calendar. In 1996, that squad had a whole month preparation leading to AFCON. They were in camp for a month. And that team played 15 or just over 10 international friendly matches, including a 4 Nations tournament in preparation for the tournament. The Springboks, when they won the World Cup, was in camp for almost 3 months. Bafana never had more than 3 days to prepare for a match. And Avron Grant, for example, you know, he was a former Chelsea coach. He said, look, this system is not good for football, not good for the players, not good for national teams, not good for the clubs, because the player must be released. He must travel from America or Europe to South Africa. He then lands in South Africa. He must then get another 2 planes to go and play in Morocco, and then 2 planes back, and then another plane back to